Hi, and welcome back to Tommy Talks Medicine, your answers in 5. Today we're addressing a very important issue for my women out there. Why am I bleeding? I wanted to talk about 5 reasons why you may be having irregular cycles or weird bleeding episodes and what we can do about them. Number 1, axis irregularity. So your brain and your body work together in one kind of chain of hormones, one sparking the other, which sparks the other, to cause your regular cycles. Now, for a couple of reasons, these may be irregular, and that may be causing your cycles to be happening all over the place. For instance, people who have just started their menstrual cycles, who just hit puberty, are just getting readjusted to having a bunch of hormones firing at once, and so you may be having spotty menstrual periods all over the place. Additionally, people who are on the tail end of things, who are in perimenopause and are trying to get into menopause, may also see irregularities in their menstrual cycles. So these are things that we can always talk about with our physicians and figure out how we can control our menstrual cycles if need be, or if it's something we can just expect to happen. Number 2, structural abnormalities. By this, I talk about things that are growing in the uterus, in the ovaries, or wherever that may be causing irregular bleeding. One of which is most common is fibroids. Some people who have fibroids can experience heavy menstrual bleeding, and some people who have something called adenomyosis, where they have a lot of uterine tissue that's embedded all over the uterus, can have heavier episodes of bleeding than what they would normally expect. These are also things that you can talk about with your physician to see if you can have some forms of birth control like hormonal IUDs to be able to help, or if you need medications completely to help suppress the effect of that on bleeding. Number 3, medications. There are some medications that can cause you to have heavier bleeding than when you normally would. For instance, people who are on blood thinners can see this happen quite a bit. If you've just been put on a blood thinner, you may be seeing more bleeding than you normally would, or a longer menstrual period than you would expect. Number 4, bleeding conditions themselves. Some people have genetic and de novo conditions that may lead them to be more prone to heavy bleeding. For instance, some people may see this as when they go to the dentist, they may have some bleeding that takes a little bit to clot off, or when they injure themselves, they may bleed a little more than usual or a longer period than they would expect for normal people. This can also show up when you have your periods, but usually these people may have seen this from early on when they first hit puberty. They have long cycles, they've had history of bleeding disorders, and some of them may even have family members who have this also. So it's very, very important to know your family history, to know if you have any history of heavy menstrual bleeding or any history of bleeding in general, because that may clue you in as to one of the causes of your irregular bleeding. And finally, the big one, number 5, is cancer. Some people have cancer that may be causing them to bleed a little bit more heavily or irregularly than they would normally expect. This is one of the big reasons why it's very important, if you have any issues with your menstrual cycle, to see your doctor. Because while common things being common, you probably have one of the ones before, it is very, very important to rule out cancer. Because we do not want to sit on any uterine, endometrial, ovarian cancers, or anything of the sort in the name of thinking it's something more common. These have been your 5 topics as to why you may be bleeding. I highly, highly encourage you to see your OBGYN for a further workup and to think about what we can do about these problems. Thank you so much. I pray that you are healthy as your soul prospers, and I'll see you in the next video.